What up? What up?
How's it going, Russ?
Free stogies for life. That's how it's going.
Hey, Russ, we didn't do the meetup, the regular one, in September because we did the mega meetup, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah, I ran the August one.
did you record that one?
Yeah, I did. I can actually send you that video. I can make like a zip, and then you can just download it.
Sure. Yeah, I just haven't.
I'll make that happen.
I was just looking at WP Vegas, and I didn't. The last post was from the July meetup. So
I think it's in Documents, Zoom, and then what dates I got? 8/18. Oh, it says August meetup. It looks like I've got the WordPress meetup group, August meetup. I've got 3 total videos, is what Zoom put out. Cool. I'll just make 3 zips real quick.
yeah, just zip it and just shoot it over to me. That'd be cool. Thanks.
Zipit.com. You ever? That's that whole thing in Austin Powers.
Oh yes. I think we actually it comes up from time to time.
That's one of my favorites. They usually show 3 lately, but I wish they would show the original one, or I wish they'd show, maybe 2. Sometimes they show gold member. Excuse me, sir.
Where are we at? There we are.
Hello, everybody else.
This is weird. Meetup.com is weird.
Yeah, they've been changing things around. This guy today, so I answer phones, and this guy today called in, he wanted to completely restore his website because every page and post was showing in his menu. And I was like, hey, just go to your menus and choose something in your location. And he was like, oh, look, that fixed it. And I was like, would you like to cancel your restore? Yes, please. A lot of fun.
Hey Josh, how's it going?
Hello, this is Amy.
Hi, Amy.
Hi.
Hi, Amy.
Hey Josh, are you there?
Yeah.
Hey, awesome. You're going to be up first. You good with that?
Yeah, let me just grab my AirPods so I can get a little bit better audio.
You got like 10 minutes. So.
Okay.
All right. Well, welcome. Hello and good evening to everybody. This is our first meetup in a little bit because we paired up with the nice folks down in Florida last month to do something called the Mega Meetup, which was pretty cool. Did anybody attend that? Anybody else? Just me? All right. I liked it because it's one of those things where, a lot of times we have, I would say maybe 3 or 4 kind of regular presenters where we present, on a pretty regular basis. It's me, it's Russ, it's Robert, a couple of others. So what I liked about kind of joining into this other meetup was it was nice to get some other voices. We got to hear from Michelle Schultz from up in Minnesota, and can't remember the lady's name, and I can't remember where she's from. I think she might have been from Atlanta. But both presentations were fantastic. So we're back to doing ours this month. They are going to continue doing the mega meetup. So if that's something that you're interested in doing as well, I don't think I'm going to cancel our meetup moving forward. I think we'll just kind of do those as a secondary thing as well. So you might get double the WordPress action in a month. So huzzah! All right. So let's see here. I'm seeing some chat. Hey, Eric from Thailand. Nice. Welcome. All right. So I'm going to share my screen real quick and just kind of run through some of the quick housekeeping that I typically do. This is our meetup, and we run it. It is typically the third Wednesday of every month, so you can kind of set your clock by that. We currently, thanks to COVID, have zero plans on doing anything in person. At least, I'm going to go ahead and say at least till the end of the year at this point, and once we do kind of get things settled back into some sort of normalcy, hopefully. The nice folks downtown Vegas at Work in Progress have offered us their hospitality to host our events there, which is awesome. Actually, I ended up being there the other day because the internet was out at my house, and Kenny was kind enough to let me come and hang out at Work in Progress. So I went there. It's a 2-story building. I don't know if you guys have been there, but it's, you know, big, huge 2-story building, co-working facility, and it was me and 3 people. So it was basically like having a gigantor office all to myself, which was kind
That's
of
rad.
nice. Yeah, it was pretty nice.
Hey, John, I was just trying to open a new tab on your browser because I thought it was my browser.
That's not going to work, Russ. It's not how the internet works. I don't know if you know that or not. So, all right. So most of you probably follow us on meetup.com. I hope that's one of the spots where you are following us, because that's obviously where the Zoom link went out to. But there are a couple of other places. If you aren't taking notes diligently, we do post the videos. We are 1 month, we're missing one, but Russ is going to send that over to me, and I will get that added soon. But it's at wpvegas.com, so this is kind of our home base for our meetup, and has links to pretty much everything that you could pretty much want, which would be if you have an idea on something, you could contact me. This will take you to meetup.com, our Facebook group, our very, very, very quiet Twitter feed. But the one that I always like to point out is our Slack. If you're interested in, we do have a WP Vegas Slack channel, and I'll tell you that it's actually kind of been picking up. I've been spending a fair bit more time over there recently, and so if you're interested in kind of having some conversations, this is a good place to do it. The other thing that I always like to tell people about is the Vegas WordPress Meetup group on Facebook, which we've a little over 500 members. So if you are looking to get questions answered during the month and you are not you don't want to wait around for our meetup, the Facebook group is a great place to do that. There's a whole bunch of people in there and some great conversation, and it's nice to get responses back from not just one person, which is very cool. So I love to try to force people over there, except for, man, I really hate Facebook. So anything we can do to not spend all of our time on Facebook, I think is always a good thing. So cool. Let's see. I was going to say there is and I probably need to go grab this from Slack, actually. Give me 1 second. A little bit of news happening in the WordPress world, which is that there is a new version of WordPress due out in a couple of months. It is going to be WordPress 5.6, and it looks like the release date is currently set as December 8th. The first version, the first beta version of 5.6 was just released, what was that, yesterday? Cool. And if you're interested in testing it out, this post up on WordPress.org news, on the blog on WordPress.org, Has some information about how you can test it. I strongly suggest you do not test this on your live website. Always good to set up maybe a staging site or something on local that you can do and mess around with. And if you're interested in doing that and you're not really sure, reach out and I can point you in the right direction for some instructions on how to do that. But they are talking about some of, if you're interested in kind of like what's coming next in the new versions of WordPress, this is actually a great blog to follow. And I believe it even shows up in your WordPress dashboard under WordPress news. Links to the whatever's going on in the WordPress world happens there. But there's kind of some cool improvements in the editor, improvements in core, and three things that I want to point out. One is it's that time of the year again where we're getting ready to get a brand new default theme. This one is called 2021. Very, very tricky name scheme that they've got going on there. See if my page is going to load here. But they're calling it a new portfolio default theme. So if you're interested in kind of testing that out, you can actually go get it now and mess with it. And one of the things that I love about this is this second line. This theme features a streamlined and elegant design which aims to be AAA ready. And what they're talking about there is from an accessibility standpoint. Your websites are supposed to be accessible for maybe somebody with disability. Maybe that's maybe they don't have the use of their hands and they can only use text to type, or maybe they are colorblind or have some sort of visual impairment. So there are ratings that they get, and AAA rating would be an amazing rating. And if you don't think that accessibility is important, we had a gentleman do a presentation a few months back where he was kind of talking about ambulance chaser style lawyers who are going out finding websites that are not accessible and then suing them, which is always fun because who doesn't love a good ambulance chaser? Oh, me, right, and most people. So anyway, those are.
You can just take mine down. It's cool.
Yeah.
I got nothing.
Yeah, so these are two really cool things that are happening, and then the support for PHP 8, great, whatever. Don't really care about that. But as a nerd, this is one that is very, very exciting to me, which is something called application passwords. If you do anything with passing data into WordPress through the REST API, there is a very easy way using this plugin called application password to make it so that it will automatically check to make sure that the posts coming in are have an actual user account, and you can make that account like an admin level user. So this way you're only allowing in, you're only accepting REST posts from people that you know are an actual, have an admin level account. So this is huge, so that it's, it's from a security standpoint, it's gigantic. But right now, this is all, you're forced to do this through a plugin. And with the new version, this is actually being rolled into core.
Hey,
so
John, can we read that description on that page? Because this is very short and to the point, and I think all plugins should do this.
Which one? On this page?
Yeah, for application password, it says use application password to authenticate users without providing their passwords directly. Instead, a unique password is generated for each application without revealing the user's main password. This is so cool.
Yeah, it is. It's really a handy thing. And if you're doing anything that is not just kind of standard vanilla using WordPress as a standard, but it may be connecting to like a third-party application, this is just a huge security benefit. And so, like I said, as a nerd, I'm super excited about that. So, all right. Well, that's kind of all the rambling I'm going to do for now. We do have two presentations going on tonight. Josh Copeland and Darcy Hall are both going to give presentations. So I'm going to turn this over here first to Josh. Josh, you go by Josh. prefer Joshua?
Either one's fine. How's my audio?
You sound great.
Okay.
All right. And I didn't announce what you were talking about, so if you want to do that, go for it and take it away.
Sure. Let me see if I can move this. There we go. So yeah, this is going to be a bit of a technical talk. So any geeks in the audience, I'm sure, could stay awake. But if you're more on the marketing side or something like that, maybe this is just good stuff to gloss over. But I've been kind of sucked into the Laravel and Symfony world in PHP, and I'm just trying to get back to my WordPress roots. And I actually manage all of my clients' WordPress sites this way. And I wanted to share how I do that and open source essentially the scripts that I've built to manage, multiple WordPress sites on a single server. And the key technology here is something called Easy Engine. So that's what we'll be mainly covering tonight, along with some scripts on how to actually provision a server running Easy Engine. So as John mentioned, which thanks for having me on, guys. I really appreciate the time. I am Joshua Copeland. I've been programming for over 12 years. I have over 10 years of PHP experience. I'm the CTO of Remote DevForce, a company I started about 4 years ago doing freelance software development. And I'm the user group leader of PHP Vegas. If you haven't heard of us, definitely check us out, especially if you do any sort of web development with PHP. And building a startup, which is a lot of fun. I'm a loving father and husband. It's my 2 kids. Just went to Utah recently and got some hiking in, and my beautiful wife there. This is the only time I get to force you guys to look at my kids, and so I'm utilizing that. And I'm still skateboarding. I've been trying to do jiu-jitsu and getting folded every time I go, but that's a lot of fun. And I like collecting Yeezys and vintage stuff, so it's a little bit about me. So why Easy Engine? So in the old days of DevOps or kind of server administration, when you're building a server to run WordPress, you're having to essentially install and manage a ton of configurations. That goes from managing all of your web server configurations for whether you're running Apache or Nginx. You're having to renew SSL certificates, install SSL certificates, which that was a lot of fun before Let's Encrypt. I say that with sarcasm. And there's also a ton of configurations you have to deal with PHP, whether you're using FPM, Apache modules. It's basically like becomes like a lot to manage, and can be kind of like a Jenga tower over time if you're not careful with how you manage all of these configurations. And upgrading the software on the server and the web server, kind of keeping things up to date so security patches come through, all of that stuff takes time. It's all manual work and it's painful. There's nothing wrong with doing that if you have the proper processes in place to go update that stuff and keep your servers up to date. It's not bad by any means, but with this way, we'll get into it definitely helps you keep things up to date in a cleaner and more automated way. So as I mentioned, you have Apache or Nginx you've got on a server, you're running something like PHP FPM, and over time, what happens is you just end up having to tweak these configurations, and then you have to worry about this configuration. Especially if you have multiple sites on one server, then you just end up with too much going on, and at one point becomes unmanageable. So it doesn't need to be that hard. what I'd like to introduce to you is a technology called Easy Engine that I've been using for a couple of years now that Manny, actually, I'm sure some of you have heard of, shout out to him, turned me on to, and I've been pretty much in love with it since. So there is a better way than managing everything by hand. So essentially how Easy Engine works is in front of Easy Engine, there's an Nginx proxy that will run to get any web request that you get in on port 80 or 443, HTTP or HTTPS. And then from there, that you can have either one or multiple WordPress sites or none when you first start. So it allows you to essentially use a single server to manage multiple sites in a very clean and easy to use interface. The one key thing here is that it uses a technology called Docker, which I'm sure some people have heard of. And, when I first heard of it, I wrote it off a little bit. But, the biggest thing you can, leave yourself in the dust is if you're fearful of new technologies and not giving things a chance. So
how many weeks? How many weeks did you avoid it?
It wasn't weeks. More like years, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah. I when I first heard about it, when I worked at a company, this guy was like, "We should really try to look at using this, in production." And eventually, we did get to the point to where we were using it locally. Using it for local development is tremendous. Like I use it for every project. I use Docker because it gives me a simple template to give my developers so they can quickly spin up a project without me having to tell them to go install and everything by hand. Go install XAMPP and configure it this way. Like it just once you have all the configurations in place and stuff, they can just hit up and everything should just work, with an asterisk there because it does require building that. But yeah, I mean, and in 10 years from now, there's going to be something called Whoop-de-Doop that's going to be probably better. But anyway,
it's going to be called Cucumber.
Well, I think there's already something called Cucumber. They're probably going to have to come up with a different name then.
Yeah, but it's a different extension. Like that's Cucumber.io. This is Cucumber.xyz. Totally different companies.
They'll spell it with like the little with R, an R at the end or something. Yeah, with like the ER. Okay, so yeah, like I mentioned, Easy Engine uses a Power Docker, which is a really cool technology. It basically runs like imagine a server, and then you have like a virtual kind of server inside your server. Each container is a virtual copy of your server. It shares all of the resources on your machine. So it's not like a traditional VM where you have to tell the VM that, hey, you've got this much memory and this much CPUs and that's it. And a virtual machine basically gets clocked out pretty quickly because it can't scale to the full capacity of the server that you're running. So with Docker, you can configure it so it can use all of the cores, it can use all of the memory available depending on how you want it configured. So Easy Engine allows you, using this Docker technology, to create multiple WordPress sites. It uses Nginx, PHP FPM, MySQL, and Redis for caching, and all of that comes out of the box. It has built-in HTTPS with Let's Encrypt. You can also install SSL certificates manually if you wish, or no SSL. Don't do that though. Object and full page cache support. So out of the box, when you install with cache on a site, it will have the plugins for you already, ready to rock and roll on the WordPress site to do full page caching. And also has a very easy to use interface for updating and renewing your certificates. And the power of Docker without all the complexity of trying to build everything by hand in Docker. To be quite honest, you really don't even need to do anything with Docker. You do everything through the Easy Engine CLI, which we'll get to here in a second. Easy Engine has a bunch of different developer-friendly tools it comes out of the box with. It has Mailhog, which allows you to intercept email, like if you're just developing locally. It has, of course, Mac support. You can also install it on Linux as well. We'll get to that. And then it's very modular. It extends, you can extend it using composer packages. I haven't had the need to do that. Everything built into it is good enough for me, but that's there for you if you did want to extend it. It is open source, which is, I think, a prerequisite for any great technology nowadays. And it also comes built with the WP CLI on every WordPress site that gets installed. So if you're a fan of using the WP CLI, no need to install that by hand or anything. It's already there for you. And it comes with a bunch of cool admin tools if you want to enable them. I don't believe they're enabled by default, but you can enable PHPMyAdmin, a Redis web viewer to see what cache, what's happening with the cache, what's happening with FPM, some dashboards essentially to give you stats on what your server is doing, which might be helpful if you need to look into that. I haven't had the need to do that either. So there are other alternatives out there. Easy Engine isn't the only one. There's a new hot up and coming one called WordOps that I've seen. I think that that's probably Easy Engine's biggest competitor at this point. However, it's very new. So I did look at it, but I haven't switched for the very fact that Easy Engine to me is just a little more mature at this point. But I have a feeling that that might be a close competitor, if not overtake them over time, but we'll keep our eye on that. But it is an Easy Engine fork. So it's based off of the version 3 of Easy Engine, and they forked it off and made it better. And there's also Slick Stack, and I'm not sure how to pronounce this, Webinoli, I'm gonna just say. But those are a few other ways of having a single server and building out multiple WordPress sites on that server, without doing it by hand anyway. So Easy Engine isn't the end all be all, but I think it is the top one out there at the moment. So using Easy Engine is fairly simple. Again, you can install it locally if you just want to play around with it, but you can also use it in production, which is kind of the great part. So it comes with all of these different commands. You have Easy Engine's log command, which allows you to tail the logs and follow any errors or access logs on just one of your sites. And you can kind of filter it and do cool things with that. There's also Easy Engine Service. This will manage Nginx, MySQL, anything else that you have on there. You can basically use that to restart your services if you want. There's also the EE site command, which is the most, I would say, popular here, because that is what you'll be using to create, delete, restart sites. If you need to restart all the containers or something like that, that is kind of the command you'll use to manage your sites.
Is this like its own CLI, or is this like its own aliases for commands?
This is his own CLI.
Sweet.
Yeah. We'll get to a demo here later where I'll show you how to use it. But I also included some bash scripts to make your life easier too. But we'll go over those. So there's also Easy Engine Shell that will allow you to drop into the container for your WordPress site, and then you can start running WP CLI commands. I have a nifty little command in here for you guys if you do want to do like a string replace, which is typically something you need to do when you're migrating websites. And then there's the mailhog thing, help, which is pretty much in every command. Cron jobs, you can install cron jobs that run, every minute, every hour, every day, whatever. And then you've got your configurations. I've never had the need to use that, but I think you can manage Easy Engine's configurations that way. All of the defaults have worked just fine for me. There's the CLI, which allows you to update Easy Engine, but again, I haven't had to use that because it does have a sort of auto update thing that I'll show you here in a second. And then you can add HTTP authentication to a site very easily with this EE-auth command. And then there's also admin tools like we talked about that you can enable and disable, like PHPMyAdmin. Probably wouldn't, I don't recommend keeping PHPMyAdmin turned on, or if you do, make sure like only you can get to it by IP filtering or something. So installing is pretty simple. On their website, it shows basically this right here. You can do the first command if you're on Linux, or the second command here is for Mac. You can just simply install it through brew and you're ready to go. It will install Docker because that is a prerequisite, but essentially this is all you need to do to get Easy Engine installed on your machine. You can create a site simply by just running the EE site create and then the domain name and telling it that you want a type of a WP or aka WordPress site. We'll get to hear why there's types, but yeah. And the reason that there's types is because if you don't specify the type, it thinks that, hey, let's just build like a HTML site. So you can actually just build a website without PHP or whatever. Like if you just wanted a bare bones website with HTML, you can use this to do that. And you can still have the nicety of using Let's Encrypt, which you can see here, SSL equal LE, LE standing for Let's Encrypt. That basically tells Easy Engine that we want to use Let's Encrypt. You can also change, there's a bunch of different filters you can throw into this command, but you can change like the public directory if you want to, and some other, there's a ton more besides that. It's a little hard to read here, but the point is that if you just wanted a plain old PHP site, you didn't want WordPress installed on it necessarily, you just have maybe a custom thing built in PHP, you can also use Easy Engine for that. You just put in type equal PHP, and probably the cooler thing about this is you can tell it what version of PHP you want. So I believe they support up to PHP 7.4 right now. And as new versions of PHP come out, it will automatically update your containers to be on the latest version of PHP. So no more managing upgrades and things like that. It does all that for you. But one key thing here is that you can use an external database. It will spin up like a Docker container that runs MySQL to manage your database if you don't specify like a DB host. But you know, with my sites, what I do is I actually use a proper database on GCP, and we'll use that remote database configurations when I create my sites here. So the meat and potatoes of this, though, being that you can create a WordPress version of the site. So it will grab the latest copy of WordPress, it will install that in the container for you, and pretty much just spits out the logins for you and some other information about the site that you can just copy and put somewhere safe, and you're ready to go. So there's some more complicated examples here. These are all on their website, but you can essentially create a multi-user or multi-site WordPress site, essentially, you know, using alias domains, you know, subdomains, all that kind of stuff. If you have something a little bit more technical as far as your WordPress site is concerned, but everything here is just more of advanced examples. If you do need to clear cache, the plugin that comes with it has an easy to use button right in the admin that you can clear cache, but you can also use this command here in the back end if you want to clear cache as well. There's the shell command here that, like I said, will drop you into the container, and then you can start running WP CLI commands on the site that you drop into. You just need to put EE shell and then the domain that you created. So you can also restart services like I mentioned. There's like a couple of global services like Redis and Nginx. If you do need to restart those for whatever reason, that's here, but shouldn't need to. The one cool feature I like that comes out of the box with this is allowing you to add HTTP auth, which is basically like when you try to visit a website, it pops up with like, hey, you need to log in. this allows you to kind of like block it off from the public, but then have your client, review the site, before you guys go live or whatever. So, and then you can delete it very easily just by, passing in delete and then the user. So very simple to use kind of way of doing that rather than having to manually edit Apache configs or anything. Admin tools out of the box that come, like I mentioned, there's PHP there's a PHP FBM dashboard. There's Xdebug you can install if you need to like start debugging something. PHP My Admin, all this kind of cool stuff. I haven't had the need to use any of that. WordPress is pretty easy to use, and if you know kind of what you're doing, debugging stuff isn't too bad. But it's probably more helpful for more complex WordPress sites. The auto update feature, when I wanted to take a screenshot here, this is what I was running on my server. I just typed in EE help. I just wanted to see the commands get listed out. And then it actually went out to the internet and checked, am I on the latest version? And so you can see here in the middle, it says you have version 4.1.4. Would you like to update? So of course I could have said no, but I just went ahead and said yes. And within a couple minutes or so, it automatically updated, restarted all my containers. I was done. That was it. I just had to hit the letter Y, and now I am on brand new shiny software. So that's pretty much Easy Engine. This will get a little bit more advanced, but I, again, wanted to open source the way that I manage my servers and how I create WordPress sites. So essentially what I'm doing is an automated way of creating my server. Again, there's nothing wrong if you manually create it, especially if it's just like a one-off project or it's, but if it's for, if you're on a team or something, this will definitely be something you want to pay attention to. So Easy Engine is inoperable. Like I mentioned, you can install it on Linux or Mac. There's no Windows support yet, sorry. I bet that might come one day just because Windows is getting better with Docker, but I imagine it has some sort of Docker limitation on why that doesn't work. So there are many clouds to choose from, AWS being the biggest and baddest by far, but the others are just as good. There's really, I mean, it's just a slimmer service list to choose from. But last time I checked, there's over 130 something services in AWS. So it can be complicated if you're new to sysadmin and that kind of stuff. So there's nothing wrong with going with something like Google Cloud. That's, I feel like, can be advanced as well, but is a lot slimmer as far as services are concerned. There's Azure, which also is a great, that's Microsoft's kind of cloud. There's Heroku, DigitalOcean, Linode. There's a lot to choose from out there. There's nothing wrong if you just go to DigitalOcean or Linode and just spin up a single server and call it a done day, especially for small websites. Sometimes if you don't want to deal with all this, it might be worth to pay the money to host it with something like WP Engine or something like that. But if you want fine-grained control over the server and everything that you're doing, you're probably going to want to, use a proper server or something like that instead of someone that manages the server for you. So a concept I want to bring up is something called IAC, or Infrastructure as Code. If you Google it, you can kind of read more about it, but essentially what it means is it's the art of being able to write code that not only documents the way that your infrastructure looks like in AWS, GCP, Azure. There's a bunch of different providers that Terraform provides you because it allows you to do a hybrid cloud. You don't have vendor lock-in with like AWS or anything. You can use any provider that they currently support, which is a ton. And it's also open source. So people are building their own providers, and I'll show you some cool ones here in a minute. There's also CloudFormation, but that's very specific to AWS. But that also allows you to build your infrastructure in code first, and then you can go and provision it, and it will take that code, and spin up your infrastructure. So what's great about this is if you're on a team and somebody wants to know how how the infrastructure looks like how many servers do we have, where's the already, what database do we have, how big is it, or whatever, rather than even logging into AWS, they could go and look at this and then change it, and you guys can work as collaboratively on the infrastructure that way. So Terraform is a really cool technology. I recommend checking out if you're kind of into that stuff. But the key here is if you have like an artsy and a staging or a production environment, you have multiple environments and you want to really keep those separate, Terraform is great for that, because now you just write one plan for how you want your stuff to look like, and then you can use it across each environment. And then it also gets rid of the bus factor. If I got hit by a bus, instead of having to figure out what somebody manually did in the server in AWS where they clicked, it's all there in code. So no more kind of guesswork. So I'll go through a demo here in a minute, but basically the way that Terraform works is first you edit your Terraform files, which are .tf files. I'll show you what those look like here in a minute. We run a plan. The plan will tell us what it's going to do in GCP in this example, but again, this works with AWS and others. So it'll tell us how many servers we're going to spin up, what's going to get created, what's going to get destroyed if you're removing stuff, and so on and so forth. And then we can go and actually apply it. When apply happens, it will communicate with Google or AWS or whatever provider you're using, and it will double check what's the infrastructure look like right now, what's up on your actual cloud provider, and it compares that with what's on your local to kind of see what the differences are. Then it'll show you, okay, this is what my plan is based on what's out there versus what you're telling me to do here right now. Then the last step is just saying, yeah, go for it. That plan looks good. And it will go and use the APIs to automatically provision your servers. So in under 5 minutes, you'll be able to spin up a server, spin up a VPC, and basically it also creates Easy Engine installed on the server. And then all you need to do is just SSH on the server and start creating sites. So if you guys do want to take a look at it, there's an example repository that I put up on GitHub. It's at ogprogrammer/easyengine-gcp-terraform. If you just go to my profile, I think you'll see it at the top there. But this will contain a single server setup that uses Google Cloud Compute, aka GCP, that installs Docker and Easy Engine. It also contains a bunch of scripts that I've kind of built up in my arsenal over the years for managing sites that allow me to back up sites, migrate sites across servers, some of the replace kind of stuff that you can do with WP-CLI. And also it contains examples for using a proper MySQL database externally. I don't have that enabled by default, but I show you how to enable it. And in my actual production use case for my clients, I do use Namecheap for hosting domain names. And for the ones that I own anyway, I use Namecheap to create an API. They have an API essentially that allows me to change DNS records. So I can basically connect with Terraform the server IP address and the domain name and have Terraform change those DNS records for me automatically as well. All of this stuff, if you want to read more about it, we'll go through it, but it's in the README of this example. It gives you kind of step-by-step instructions. I've kind of gone through it. There might be something missing. Feel free to hit me up if you do get stuck anywhere. But as long as you kind of stick to the 1, 2, 3, 4, you'll be fine. And let's just get into it here. So demo time. All right, so first here is the README, and on here we've got basically it just gives you kind of an idea of how this is set up. What it will tell you is, this contains basically a sample Terraform for a single GCP server, and it's really easy to kind of extend it if you do want to have multiple servers. And all you need to do is install Terraform. If you're on Mac, you can just use brew install Terraform, and you've got that ready to go. You'll need to go to Google Cloud Compute in this case, because that's what this example uses, and create an account with them. And what they have is a gCloud CLI that you can use to interact with your Google Cloud account. So Google kind of instructions on that, and it's pretty easy to install. Once you have that, you just need to authenticate on your machine with the API, and that will give you a credential file. That's important because we'll need to link that up with Terraform so it can use your credentials to actually provision stuff on your Google Cloud account. So it tells you kind of what files to update. I've called everything Acme in here, but you can feel free to change Acme to whatever your business name is. And then, there's a variables file we'll get to here in a second, but those are all the inputs essentially for how your infrastructure gets spun up. We'll open that here in a second. Then the magic bash script here, this tf apply, tells Terraform to apply all of these changes to the cloud. And then a file will get created once you're done with the apply that's called terraform.tf state. This file essentially is what the Terraform knows what was last done. So in this file contains, the server ID and everything that it provisioned. So the next time you run it, it knows what happened the last time that you run it. So it doesn't get confused and spin up another server, or think that it hasn't done something. So that file is kind of important. You don't ever want to commit that because it does contain sensitive things like the ID of the server and maybe other things that you don't necessarily want out there in the public. So, if you do fork this example, just make it private, and then you can commit the file if you want from there, if you're the only one really using this. Or if you do want to get more technical, you can actually store this Terraform file in like a bucket or some other backend provision service. Terraform has a bunch of docs about that, but for the sake of simplicity, as long as you're using the same machine to do your provisioning, it's going to work fine. So after you get everything provisioned, then we can run this upload files bash script here to upload everything in this files directory up to our server. And those are a bunch of helpful scripts, like I mentioned, for backing up stuff, for creating sites, things like that. And then once you're done uploading everything, you can just SSH onto the server and then start running your easy engine commands to create your sites. So there's some instructions here for migrating sites. Like if you do spin up a new server and you want to migrate sites, I've got some things in there. How to kind of add a new server, some to-dos that I've kind of thrown in there. But this also this helpful command here. If you do have like a dev site that you've been building a WordPress site in, and you wanted to replace all of the domain names in the database with the new production one, once you run that CLI, or I should say EE shell command, and you're in the container for your site, you can then just run this command here, and this will go and replace all of the instances where it sees example dev, and it replaces them with your new website name or whatever. So really helpful. Don't forget directories too. Like if you changed, if the directories have changed from the old to new server, that stuff can be in the database too. So just to kind of go over what Terraform looks like, these are the Terraform files here. This is main.tf. Which is kind of the main entry point into Terraform. Now, before Terraform does anything, it will read every TF file to basically get a grasp on exactly what it needs to do. So it doesn't work procedurally or anything like that. It loads all of the Terraform files before it actually tells you what it's going to do. But how I like to set it up is you have a main file that says what your provider is. We could change this to AWS and put in our AWS account information if we wanted to use a different provider. But in this case, we're using Google. Once you do that gcloud auth thing, you'll get a JSON file that gets dropped somewhere. It'll tell you where it is. You can just copy that and put that here in the credentials. And now, boom, you've got Terraform linked up with the credentials file locally, so you can actually do things against your Google Cloud account. All of these things here are variables. I'll show you here in a second, but this allows you to basically create variables that you can change very easily. There's a provider that I didn't enable by default, but this is Namecheap. If you haven't used them before, they're basically like, GoDaddy or anything else, but they allow you to, buy domain names and do whatever you want. So they do have an API, which is pretty cool. And you can link it up with Terraform. So essentially, when you create a site, you could have it automatically link the server IP address to your domain name. So if you do switch servers or whatever, you can use this Terraform stuff to kind of keep things in order. You can use it for MX records, name servers, all kinds of stuff. So that's been kind of cool. You don't have to manage your DNS with Terraform. Sometimes that can get hairy. So that's why in this case, because you have to put like your API token here, there's some sensitive information. So I just disabled that for now, but it's there if you want to use it. And this little random thing, this helps us create like random numbers or whatever. And then this SSH metadata here, this will pump in my SSH key from my machine here. So it allows me to jump onto the server and start running commands or whatever. So the only thing in this file you really need to do is tell it where your credentials are. And then in the variables file here, there's a couple of things to just take note of. You've got your SSH key. This again needs to be set to the public key of whatever you want to use to actually SSH to your server. So this will get installed on your server essentially as an authorized key. I've got some nifty kind of things in here to block SSH from IPs, except these whitelisted ones. So if you have like an office and a home IP address, you can drop those in here and you can SSH to your machine from these. If your IP changes or whatever, all you need to do is change your IP here, reprovision Terraform, and it will automatically change Google to tell them what the new firewall looks like. We can change the headquarter. I basically pick Central because it's in the middle of America, and so if my guys are on the East Coast or West Coast, whatever. So that's pretty cool. I'm not sure if AWS has a Central yet. I'm sure they will one day. And GCP's project variable here is important because when you create an account, you do need to create a project for GCP. So this is what the cloud platform dashboard looks like. Like when you first log in, this is essentially what you see. It gives you all of these different dashboard kind of things, what your machine's doing. And then this project info thing up here. So this is important because these are your different projects. So you could kind of separate your infrastructure very easily if you wanted to create like an RC or production. You could do that here. Or you can just name different projects if you wanted, like a client wanted to be on their own server and their own network and all that. Again, you can just reuse all of this stuff to do that. But once you create a project, you're going to want to put that project ID, which is here, into this. So Terraform can tell GCP which project that it needs to create all this junk in. So there's a VPCTF, which it stands for Virtual Private Cloud. This basically tells it what your network looks like. If you look here in the variables, you can see here there's some private IP addresses, but this is essentially says, here's my subnet for my application servers, and here's my subnet for my database servers. So you can kind of keep this in a private subnet, and then keep your servers in a public subnet or whatever. Don't really need to mess with that. Works out of the box, but if you do want to mess with it, you can. So going over to the server's TF file here, this tells Terraform, hey, this is my server. So here's the machine type. AWS has kind of EC2 types like T2 and T3, and the same thing with Google Cloud Compute. They have N1 and some other different ones, tiny, small, standard, different sizes. But this allows you to really quickly change the machine type here, how big our hard drive is, kind of tag to like change the name of the server. All of these different variables kind of get passed in. This tells it which region to create it in, which zone within that region to create the server in, and then a little corporate tag. Like if you want to tag your servers, you can use this to kind of have a little tag on the server. It's like metadata, so you can track kind of your infrastructure that way or whatever. And this right here, the source is kind of a Terraform module. So Terraform is really cool in the sense that you can create a module for other people to use, and they can quickly leverage it, or you can create one locally, which is what I did here in this case. I just created a directory called TF GCP WP server. And so in here, there's a main file that contains all the important information about your server. So this has the IP address of the server, the image that the server is going to use. This has the actual Google Compute instance and tells it how to create it. So you can see this is very like almost document typed, where you can say, machine type equals this, zone equals this. So you basically tell it exactly what the server is. These tags are telling it what firewall rules to pay attention to. Again, bunch of metadata just for you to be able to quickly see details about it. Labels is kind of the same thing. And the startup script is a bash script here that will go and install all this stuff on the server. So this will install things like htop, so you can kind of see what's going on the server. Installs Docker. This has that Easy Engine command we showed earlier on how to install Easy Engine. So essentially, this just tells it, hey, run this bash script right when you create the server, and that goes and provisions the server. So right when we jump on, it has everything we need. And there's a bunch of other scripts in here. Just more for kind of helping you out. You really don't need them all. But the main one, if you want to keep things simple, there's this new Easy Engine site script here. You will need to change your email in here to whatever email address you want to be notified on when your SSL certificates are expiring, or what the admin email for the WordPress site is. You can just change that to whatever you want here. And that's all you need to change in this script. So the key here is this command right here. This is the EE site create command. This just passes in a bunch of fancy stuff you'll see here in a minute. I've just kind of abstracted out this to make it easier. So you just need to pass in a few pieces of information like the domain name, the subdomain name, in most cases www, and then like a short name if you want like an alias for the website, but that's not a required parameter. So let's go ahead and let's actually provision this stuff. So this Terraform apply script, really the magic here is this Terraform apply command. You really don't even need this script. It's just to kind of make you guys' lives easier. But simply, if you just run this Terraform apply, it will go and apply everything. If you do want to see like exactly what Terraform is doing at every step of the way, you can uncomment this right here, this log trace, and it'll tell you a whole bunch of technical details on the APIs it's communicating with to create everything. But anyway, let's get our hands dirty here and let's actually create the server. So here, let's just run. We've got all of our pieces of information in place here. We added our home IP address so that way I could SSH to the server. I put in my credentials So that way it knows, what my credentials are in order to do this stuff. And then I've updated the email in here. And those are pretty much the only 3 things you need to change. So all we need to do is run TF, before we do the apply, let's run TF plan. So before we actually tell it to go do anything, TF plan will say what it's planning on doing. So if, it says here at the bottom, it plans to add 10 things. Nothing's going to change or nothing's going to get destroyed. And as we scroll up here, we can see, here's the Google Cloud Compute instance. It tells us all the details about it, all the little tags and things associated with it. We're going to create an IP address. We are going to create a global subnet, a database subnet, the SSH key. This is my public key here that's going to get installed on the server. The main VPC it's going to create in Google Cloud. Here's my firewall rules. It took my home IP address and threw it in here, and that allows me to SSH onto the server. So it says, yeah, port 22, we're going to allow this from these specific IPs. We're going to also open up pings, so we can ping the server if we want. We're going to open up 443 for HTTPS, and we're going to allow it to be hit from anywhere. That's what these zeros mean. Allow everybody to come through on this port. Same thing with 80, allow everybody to come through, and that's pretty much it. So those are the 10 things it's going to create. So if I run TF apply, it's going to take a few minutes here, but essentially it'll tell us the plan again. It says, are you sure? Say, yeah, let's do this. So it kind of gives you a step-by-step, and some things depend on some things. It'll figure that out for you. So for example, it needed to create the IP address before it could go and create the server. So you can see it here. It figures all of that stuff out for you as far as what depends on what. So it says creation complete. So now an IP address is created. And while this runs, I just want to show there's a thing called an outputs file here that it will output pieces of information about your servers. So here I'm telling it, tell me what the server name is, create this like map. This is useful for this upload files thing. So if you have multiple servers, you just need to stuff in each server here, and this uploads file script will upload it to all of those servers within this mapped variable that gets outputted. And then server address, this just says the IP address of the server, and then some other details about the server as well that gets outputted. And it's done. So now our server has been created. So these are the outputs like I just showed you. So it told me here's your IP, here's this map thing like I was talking about, and then where it created it. But the really important piece here is this IP address. So let's copy that and let's create our first WordPress site on this server. So I'm going to jump over to, like I said, Namecheap. I could use the API for it, but keeping it simple, you could just do this by hand. So I'm going to update this domain I own called SoldOutBot, and I'm just going to throw in these IP addresses here for the new server. So I'm telling it @ and then www, point those two over to my new Google server. Now let's go and SSH to the server. So let me zoom in here so you guys can see what's going on. The default that gets created is a user called admin. And then we can just put in the IP address here and then SSH to it. I have a duplicate entry, hang on. Try that again. Okay. So now we are on the server. So I ran this SSH command. Now I'm on the server. So if I run sudo ee, it will show me all the different commands that EasyEngine can do. This is fantastic. At this point, I could manually create a site with some of those examples I showed you. But to make your life even easier, I've created that bash script that allows you to just pass in a few variables and then it'll go and create the site for you. I do encourage you, if you're going to use this, go and read through all of the scripts so you understand what it's doing. But yeah, essentially it will go and run this site create command for you. And it passes in these different things like, yes, let's use cache. Here's the title of the website, which passes in the domain that you used. Here's the admin email, the admin password, the admin user. You don't need to provide this. It'll create like a obscure username and password for you, but I found that not very user friendly. So this will, you can kind of define it more. And then, you know, whether to use Redis, Let's Encrypt, and then the admin email for Let's Encrypt. So let's upload all of these files over to the server. So we just need to run uploads, scripts, upload files. So this uses that map that I was showing you, and it basically uses the gcloud CLI to go and upload all these files to all of the servers that you have. So if you just read this, the key here is this command right here, gcloud compute, telling it to SCP, like SSH copy these files from your local up to the server. And then all this magic junk up here just blows up the output and then loops over each server that you have. In this case, I just have one server, so it's just gonna upload all that stuff to that one server, and that's it. So now if I go back to the server, this does do it under like your user that you set up locally. So that's named Joshua Copeland. I've got files here, and this is everything that was in this files directory. So if you do have other files you want to upload to the server, you just need to stuff it in there and it'll automatically get pushed up when you run that uploads. So the easy to use kind of bash script here, which I don't know, probably none of this is necessarily easy per se, but once you get the hang of it, it is. We can pass in the domain name, soldoutbot.com, the subdomain, which is www, and then we could put something like a short alias for it, which just helps me manage things better, but you don't need to provide this. It'll use like the whole thing if you want. But when we run that command, it kind of outputs what it's doing. So here it tells it, I'm going to do sudo ee site create, which is that command I was showing you, telling Easy Engine to create a new site. And we're going to use SSL. So as long as you've got your IP address pointed at the server correctly, that'll automatically get added for you. And then also the username and password to log into the server. So the admin username is going to be the domain name. You can change that if you want. And then it kind of randomly generates a password here for you. So you can kind of see, it tells you step by step what Easy Engine's doing. It's configuring the project. It's creating a WordPress site. It's copying all the configuration files from what I told it. Hey, you know, put these configs in the WP config file sort of thing is really what this is telling it to do. And then it's starting the site services. So the PHP, FPM containers, all that stuff getting created for you automatically. And
Josh,
then, yeah.
I'm sorry, just to jump in. We're about 50 minutes at the moment, so I just trying to get an idea of like how long before we're done, because we still have one other presentation and a QA to get through. So I don't want to cut you off, but I'm just trying to get where are we at?
Yeah, we're close here. Probably about 5-10 minutes and we're done.
Okay.
Yeah. So here you can see it created the site. It started SSL verification, created an SSL certificate for us with Let's Encrypt. Spits out this nice and easy kind of copyable thing here. This is all comes with Let's Encrypt, but it gives you exactly how it configured your WordPress site. And then at the end of the day, just kind of restarts everything, and now it's ready to go. So if you do run something like this that tells you everything that Docker is doing, we can see that it's got, you know, these containers running for my new site that I just did. You could also do EE site list, and then that shows you all of the sites that you have installed. You can actually enable and disable them very easily too. And now we can go and log into our site. So let me just copy this password it created. And when we go here, it should just be already up. There it is. And now we just use the domain name, put the password that it told us, and bam, we're in. And then the last thing, just I want to show this purge cache button here. This will clear your WordPress cache for you. So as you can see, now if I want to create more websites on the server, I just can, keep running this one command with the different domain names, and all of that pretty much gets automated for you. So any questions on that before I wrap up the presentation? Alrighty.
I think it'll be hard. I think it'll be hard for any kind of direct questions, but this video will be available online. And if you send me the link to your GitHub, which I did not jot down, I will also include that in the show notes on WP Vegas, so folks can grab any of your other assets.
Perfect. Sounds good. So I'm just going to delete this server. I don't need it anymore. So you just need to take off delete protection off the server, hit save. I'm going to go back to Terraform, tf destroy. It's going to look at that state file and say, well, okay, you're running the Terraform destroy command. I'm going to destroy everything. Are you sure? Yeah, blow it all up. So now it's going and automatically tearing down your server and deleting everything. And that's pretty much what I wanted to open source and kind of share with everybody. So yeah, I appreciate recording this because I definitely want to post this and get feedback and things like that. And just to kind of wrap up the presentation, heads up that, as I mentioned earlier, I work with Remote Dev Force as a company that we have many US-based developers that are freelance. So if you're looking to hire freelance developers, reach out to me. You can look us up at remotedevforce.com. I'm looking for Laravel and Symfony developers at the moment. Got a lot of demand for that. So if you need any DevOps training, things like that, definitely get in contact with us. PHP Vegas, that's the user group I run, and we've been doing the remote thing first Thursday of every month, and that's it. So thanks everybody. I appreciate you guys' time, and looking forward to any feedback you have about using this stuff. Just email me at josh@remotedevforce or hit me up on Twitter or LinkedIn at OGprogrammer.
I definitely have some questions. We'll take it offline, but with your script, when you go to make it so that you've got a site that let's say you're working on a site and it's you and like 4 different people that are working on a site and you're kind of creating that Docker instance, does that Docker instance kind of become something that maybe is like stored like up on GitHub where you're like, hey, just check this out, and like to have like a new dev kind of pick that up and run with it? You know what I mean? You know what I'm getting at?
Yeah. You could, because I didn't get to show it, but essentially Docker just has a folder on the server where all of the WordPress files live. So you could actually just like put your GitHub repo there, and then do the, pulls from there or whatever, if you want to manage your WordPress site with Git sort of thing. So it's definitely possible.
It doesn't have to be Git. The situation I'm in, I'm thinking about, like, I work in a completely remote company as well. And I've got 4 different people who potentially need to work on the site. So like right now it's, okay, let me give you an export of the database, then go pull down all of the plugins and everything out of the Git repo and then set it up. Where if there was just like an image of it that somebody could just be like, here you go, here's the entire like either composer file or whatever. So I was just kind of curious if that's kind of like what your next steps would be beyond the server side setup.
Yeah, I mean, if you didn't want to give them like production access or something like that, you probably would want to use like Bedrock or one of those things where you could like install all of the plugins very easily. But to your point, you can create like a Docker image that you could give to them, but you probably want to set that up a little differently, honestly. You could just create a WordPress Docker image and then like mount everything like correctly. But if you wanted to use Easy Engine, your best bet's probably just like committing what you need in a Git repo and then managing, changes that way. But I have tried to do that in the past with having like multiple, like an RC server and a live server, and managing it through Git. And WordPress, as you very well know, with uploads and all that stuff, if you let people on your server that change posts and stuff without committing it, things get out of whack real quick.
Oh, for sure.
So it's all about your process,
Yeah.
you know what I mean, with that sort of stuff. And
Definitely.
so, yeah.
Well, cool. Well, I appreciate you very much. This was very interesting. It's I think it's probably over a lot of folks' head at this time, which is totally fine. So if you're sitting there going, "What did I just watch?" Don't sweat that. This is one of the nice parts about this is that this is a video that will be available to you online. So you may not necessarily need it today, but as things grow and as things change and your situation changes, you go, "Oh, that's what that dude was talking about. I'm going to go grab that video." And even if it's not you that sets this up, you can easily hand this off to your developer and let them get started. So
Yeah, bingo.
good deal. All right.
Yeah.
Very cool. Thank you so much. All right. I am going to quickly pass it over to Darcy, who's going to give a presentation about something called Groove Pages. So take it away.
Unmute, and my computer's doing something funky because I have a Mac and I downloaded a virtual VPN, and now it's filled up all my space on my computer, so it crashed my PowerPoint and some other things, so I'm gonna have to wing this a little bit here. But welcome. I'd have a nice PowerPoint to introduce, but I'm Darcy Hall. I've been a member of the WordPress Meetup for a few years now, and I own a digital marketing agency, Golden Solutions. It's GOALDEN Solutions. We have a whole den of solutions to help you reach your goals, ranging from websites, social media, SEO, ads, ninja lead generation tricks and methods. So that's me. And I am excited to share with you today. I'm going to present how to import a WordPress site or a WordPress page into Groove Pages. And Groove Funnels is a new emerging SaaS platform. Let me see if I can share screen. Let me minimize this a little bit to get this out of the way. Again, I had a nice PowerPoint all set for this, and it crashed. Let's see here. Go up. Okay. So I'll share this in the interim. Groove Pages or Groove Funnels is a new SaaS platform that has a whole suite of software that is consolidated, that it replaces a whole bunch of things. And right now they're still in beta. They just had a launch October 6th to 18th. There's millions of users on it now, but they're growing exponentially. And they have Groove Pages that replaces ClickFunnels, or you can use in place of WordPress. Groove Sell to replace Samcart, Groove Affiliate for Tap Affiliate, Groove Mail replacing ActiveCampaign or MailChimp or other, Groove Member replacing Kajabi or other membership sites, Groove Video to replace Vimeo, Groove Cart replacing Shopify, as I'm rattling through here, Groove Webinars. The founder of the co-founders of this, Mike Filsame and John Cornetta. Mike Filsame was actually the original founder of Webinar Jam, and he had some ideas that the person they originally partnered with, they had some. They went separate ways, and Mike left, and he had a non-compete for a number of years. Now that non-compete's finished, And now he's able to move forward with some of the webinar ideas that he's had and wanted to move forward with. Groove Desk will be out later this year, replacing Zendesk or Health Scout, Groove Calendar for Calendly, Groove Survey for Response Suite, Groove Proof for Proofly. There's a lot of companies that have partnered with that are like Chatmatic. They just announced a partnership with Chatmatic 2 weeks ago or a week ago. I don't know. So for if you're doing messenger marketing, so there's a lot of things all rolled up into one. I'm personally really excited about Groove Pages. Anybody can sign up for a free lifetime account. You can go here, bit.ly/lifetime funnels. You can anybody can get a free account. You can have 3 pages up, 3 sites up and a limited number of pages. And if you upgrade, you get unlimited sites, unlimited pages, free hosting for life. So it's pretty cool. I'm excited I do a lot of marketing for small businesses, and sometimes WordPress, I love it, but it's a little complicated for some. And Groove Pages, it has some, it can be as complex or simple as you want. Now, let me sharing is paused, bring your share to the front. Okay, stop share a second. Let me get back to, do it this way. Okay. Tell me, are you seeing my web? Are you seeing this right now? Okay. So yeah, it's a whole bunch of, let me get this out of the way. And John, if you could let me know if there's any questions or anything as I'm going through, because I don't have the chat open. So here we are. Today I'm going to give you a quick walk through the dashboard, going into Groove Pages and showing you how to import a page into, and my internet is not great today either. Fun. Sorry guys. I'm working on getting a new computer and new internet very soon. Okay, so logging into Groove Funnels, again, it is beta and it has it's got the, Groove Pages, Sell, Affiliate, Mail, Member, Video, Cart. There's more things coming later this year, Groove Blog, Groove Webinars, Groove Desk, Groove Calendar, Groove Survey, all these. So we're gonna go up here into Groove Pages. This is a brand new account. There is an affiliate program too, if you're interested in affiliate stuff. Let's see here. So here we are, and I'm going to create a new site. And as a free member, you do have access to a lot of templates, but as an upgraded platinum member, they're coming out with 10 templates every Friday. So there's a growing list of templates. But what I'm going to do is start from scratch. And I'm going to replicate a site that I made for a candidate that I helped get elected in Nevada, Missouri in May. And let's see here, did I do this? Okay. So we're gonna open up a new site here. And here we're in the Groove Pages dashboard for building a site. It looks a bit empty here. You can work with, you can work with blocks. They have a lot of pre-made blocks. So you can drag and drop, and you can work with the wireframes of things that are all these different characteristics. That you can drag in elements, containers, columns, text, size, paragraphs, lists, media, forms, e-commerce, devices, note navigation bars, a whole bunch that you can lag in. For pages, you can add pages and reorder them and everything in there. They've just added this. There's every day they're adding more things in, so you can create funnels and you can create pop-ups. So for X-up pop-ups or pop-ups when somebody is logging in. And so we're going to start from scratch here, and let's see here. We're going to go down to pages, and let me go ahead and I'm going to add a new page. And they have the option of starting from scratch, again, using the box elements, adding things in. You can do coding in here as well. You can use use a template, or what I'm going to show you today for those that are, may have a WordPress site, and maybe you have clients, and maybe somebody has Groove pages as well, and they're like, hey, I want to copy my WordPress page into Groove pages. So here's how we do it. There's two ways, and this is still beta. They just launched this feature a few weeks ago, and they are intentionally launching things while it's still in beta, because they know that with more people testing, like you may have your developers and have your test environment and everything may be hunky-dory, but when you add more people in a bigger test environment, that's where you may find some more bugs or feature enhancements, or hey, let's do it this way. So they do open things up into beta before, and before the whole company is still in beta, not official launch until the spring. I mean, technically they launched, but they've launched in beta intentionally. I hope that makes sense. So there's two ways they could do this here. Import the layout only, and you can just do one page at a time, or you can copy the entire page. So my clients, my friend's site was votecarol.com. So one way you can do this is import the layout only. And this is if you don't have if you're not an owner of the site, and maybe there's a site that you like and you wanted to replicate. Let's see here, and it didn't do it. Okay, I'm gonna do, so again, it's still beta, works some of the time, not all the time. I'm gonna do a different one. Can't remember if this one will do. Okay, so give it just a second here. All right, and it didn't do much on that one. Okay, so it's still, sometimes it'll bring in, sometimes it won't. Let's see here, let me try one more here. Oops, I lost the page. So if you have my computer's running super slow, sorry guys. Okay, so if you have rights to the page, you'll be able to import by validating it. And we're gonna try that in a moment, but I just wanted to show you kind of a simple one first. Edit, there. Okay. I'm gonna go in again, do a new page. And we're doing this live. I don't have screenshots of these to fudge anything, just showing what we'll step through together. Okay, so you can see with this is, it's only brought in, if you don't validate that you own the site, have the rights to the site, it's not going to bring in images or exact text. But you can see what the layout is like. And then to be able to edit it, if I click on an element, I can, like here, if I click on an image, I can configure it, and I can choose an image. I can upload from my dashboard, or from, let's see here, let's just do, we'll just go ahead and put this in here. You can upload your own, or you can choose from free stock photos. I believe it's integrated with Unsplash. Those that have a Platinum membership, they have the Usign integration as well, coming soon. Okay, and then you can update. You can change a lot of attributes and so forth too. All right, So it's as simple as that, so there was, actually that was a better example than the Rapify one, because this is the other was a WordPress site and you can upload the layout. However, if you look down at the bottom, tell me if you can all see this, where it's like body block, style element, container block, style element, container, style element, it brings in a lot of extra container and elements and so forth right now. So what is currently recommended is, rather than using the import right now, because it's still kind of in beta, you can, and you do want to save periodically before you publish. But if we go and let's do a new page, then the other option would be to start from scratch, where I may be looking at a page and looking at what elements it does have. So it's got a header, it's got a navigation bar with an image. It has a slider with text. It has, it has a block with, title and paragraph and some images. It has, a text and image. So different types of blocks. It has a contact us form. It has a footer. And so one other approach that you can do is, is bringing in, so using the block elements that they already have or creating. So I know it's got so it's got a navigation bar. Well, I can look at the design ones, the ones that are more designed out, or a blank. So like that, with that, we had an image and the navigation. And the navigation will auto adjust as you add in pages. So let's go ahead and drag a block in. And then I can click on that and go to configure to change an image. And these links will change as I add in more pages. The next element might be that so I have a slider. So I'd look at the blocks in the different gallery types or slider. Let's see here, content. Be a content block. Or actually, I forget what they call that one. Not a gallery, where to go?
Darcy, not to throw you off entirely, but I do have a question. And I'll be honest with you, I don't think I realized what your presentation was when we first talked about it, because you switched it up from what you were going to talk about originally.
Okay.
So this has nothing to do with WordPress.
Okay. I was going to show how to do the.
Well, hold on. Let me finish and ask you my actual question. What's the benefit? What am I like? Why group pages? Why would I build sites over there when I build sites on WordPress? They
load. I moved one site over from WordPress. I have another client site from WordPress to group pages, because they don't know how to really manage and they don't have a budget for doing on group pages, on WordPress. And it went from a 68 page speed score to a 98, 99 page score, even with including a video. So there may, I guess what I wanted to show it for today was, in case there are people that are on, that there's some of us that are agency owners that do a lot of things, and then showing like how to bring from WordPress into Groove if we're asked to. So I'll skip some of the other stuff to make it more relevant. But to show how to the pages, let's see here. So to show what to do, if somebody has a WordPress site that they want brought in, to show you how you would do that. So then there's the option for copy entire page. Let's see here. Let's try the Carol one again.
I wasn't trying to derail you. It was a legit question. I was just curious, like how
Yeah.
like, what your interest is in moving.
Okay, so let's see here, copy entire page. Okay. So if you're trying to bring from WordPress into, and it's only page by page, you would have to you have to show proof of ownership. And so you'd copy the code and put it into you'd have to put it into the page header. So in WordPress, I already imported the, let's see here, where'd it go? I already imported the head, foot, and post injections. And so header and footer, I think I'm in the right place. Okay, and so we'll post the proof and save. Let's see. I haven't seen this one before. Okay, I haven't seen this one before. Did I not do it right?
Look like WordFence might not have liked that. Yeah.
What was that?
I said it looked like WordFence might not have liked adding that block of code.
Okay. Block WordFence for a second. Okay, try this again. Okay, so now it may take a few minutes for it to update. Oops, let me try doing it on a new page actually. Yeah. Oh, that's right. It should we are doing two new pages. It just shows you whatever your last page was on. I believe this is the same. My computer is slow, so give it a second. Okay, now it's working on copying the entire page. It didn't yet. It may take a few minutes. So, all right. Well, I didn't do the most effective presentation on that one. It is still beta, but I just wanted to show, like, if somebody, you know, if somebody is asked how to bring WordPress into WordPress into WordPress, how you'd be able to do that. The other thing too is if somebody does have, you can see the code. I know Joshua was on here. He's definitely a Cody type. You can, up top, the the little eyeball is for previewing a page on a new page, but the next to it, there's the brackets with the, or not the brackets, the code for viewing the source code, and you can copy all of it, and you could send somebody that code, as well as you can export a site. So there may be, there may be somebody that has a site in Groove Pages that they do want to, that they might want to move back over to WordPress, that you'd be able to have, that you can export the, you can export the source code, or export the file as well if you did want to get the information in. Oh, was I not sharing? Was I sharing?
Oh, you'd stop.
Oh, my bad. Sorry, let me do this again real quick. Okay, so going back, there we go. Okay, sorry about that. So here, you can preview a page, or you can click on the other icon next to it to edit the source code. And so you can copy that and send that to somebody, as well as you can export a site. So if there's somebody that has a page on Groove Pages that you want to take a look at and work on bringing into WordPress, there is a way to export from there. Okay.
Well, I think that was, I mean, obviously you were having some technical issues, so I know you'll want to kind of give that another shot at some other point, which is totally cool. We'll, I mean, if you want to record a walkthrough at some point, we can, put that into the Facebook group and whatnot. At least get people a chance to kind of see what you're seeing, because obviously if it's something that you're interested in, there's probably some validity to it behind your decisions. So I thank you for doing that, and cool. We have about 20 minutes left, so I am, if anybody has any burning WordPress questions, or even smoldering WordPress questions, totally fine. Go ahead and unmute yourself and ask away. I will share my screen, and I'm happy to check out a site, walk you through something, whatever you need. Don't be shy. This is why we're here. And if not, I'm going to just go and hang out downstairs. Darcy, you are on mute.
Was it Eric that was from another country, did you say? Or just
was it Eric? Yeah, Eric is in Thailand. Eric, what time of day is it over in Thailand? Except Eric is on no mic connected. All right. So I will show you, does anybody here use advanced custom fields? Since everybody's on mute, I'm going to just assume everybody here said, heck yeah, I use advanced custom fields. Russ shared this a little bit earlier today, which is something pretty cool. If you use advanced custom fields, there is this website called Awesome ACF, and there are an absolute ton of extensions, 170, it says third-party extensions. Then there's also some snippets and some videos and articles all about advanced custom fields. I actually use advanced custom fields in just about every single project I build these days. It's a great way of being able to kind of manipulate content. I do plan on either maybe next month or the month after, I do plan on doing a presentation on some stuff that you can do using advanced custom fields and a couple of add-on plugins to build some very, very advanced stuff without a line of code. So my whole goal is to do the entire thing without a line of code. So we'll see how that goes. That'll be an interesting one. So that's my goal. We'll see if I can actually get there. But anyway, so there's a ton of different links on these. So a lot of these, like if you click on them, This one links off to a plugin that actually happens to be a little bit older plugin. But ACF on the go, I saw one for address and mapping, which I thought was pretty cool. There are some that are premium, which means that folks are probably, there's a cost going to be involved in those. Audio player, Flexbox, better search, tons of different blocks related stuff for Gutenberg. I think if we do a search for Gutenberg, so I tell you what, you can answer this in the Zoom chat if you would like as well, if you don't want to unmute. But I'm kind of curious what everybody's current temperature is around Gutenberg itself. Like, are you have you made the switch? Are you using Gutenberg, or are you still using Classic? Are you loving it? Are you hating it? In the middle. You're also free to just unmute and we can chat. Otherwise, it's just me monologuing. All right. Well, good deal. I think then, Elementor, yep. I use Beaver Builder a ton, but for actually creating of content, I'm really trying to get into using Gutenberg as much as possible. To get your site blog up and running, do I recommend GoDaddy? So here's the fun part. I'll be honest with you, I'm not a big fan of GoDaddy, specifically because of the amount of kind of upsells that happen along the way. And Darcy, I see that you said SiteGround, which I have been a SiteGround fan for. I mean, I feel like I was one of their first customers. But the thing about SiteGround that I would like to let you know, if you haven't heard, is they have removed support for WordPress or supporting WordPress. So like if you were to contact their support department and ask them a WordPress related question, they're basically going to tell you, oh, we don't do that. So they have removed their support for WordPress. So these days, while it is a little bit more expensive, I think it's worth it strictly from the side of having kind of world-class WordPress support is WP Engine. WP Engine is just fantastic. So GoDaddy is, I have clients that are on GoDaddy and they're just fine. Their sites just run fine. I just kind of feel like there's a little bit of nickel and diming. Like you're going to end up paying annually for a secure certificate, which is typically included on pretty much everywhere else. So GoDaddy just upsells a lot, and which, you know, good on them. They make a crap ton of money doing it. But yeah, that's kind of my 2 cents there.
John, can you hear me? This is Richard.
Hey, Richard, how you doing, bud?
Hey, all right. I was going to mention too about SiteGround. I love SiteGround, but they used to have where you could renew at quite a bit of discount.
Yeah.
And now they've really raised the prices for the first 1 and 2 year renewals. You have to go 3 years, and it's still not near as good a deal as it used to be. They really have upped their prices.
Yeah, and you know, I mean, I think the trick in that is, you know, they want to kind of get you in there inexpensively, but you know, they are introductory prices, and then it goes up to kind of the regular price. And when we talk about that regular price, that to me, that makes the idea of using something like WP Engine, which the only thing they do is WordPress. So, and there's others. I mean, Liquid Web has their you know, their stuff as well that is a managed WordPress system as well. So, I mean, there's a lot of options.
What does WP Engine cost?
Let's go take a look. WP Engine, and I'll share the screen. Am I sharing the screen?
Yes.
Give me a second. Pricing. Let's see.
Their pricing structure is weird. It jumps really high, really quick.
Yeah, so if you have one site, it's $25 a month if you bill annually, but it does have a 25,000 visit limit. Um, Darcy, I don't have a Black Friday deal list yet, but I will be working on that, so that's definitely going to be coming. Um, I do so. If you go to my website, which is Vegas Geek, and you head over to my recommendations page, I do list out a lot of the services that I use, and I do still have SiteGround on there that I just haven't updated this in a little bit. So this needs to go away. What I'm likely going to do is I'm probably going to just update this with any of the Black Friday deals. So I'll just kind of denote like which one has a deal, and then I'll put the pricing on it. But so if you're ever curious about the things that I use, I love WP Engine. But I have recently finished moving everything over to, I have 2 servers over at DigitalOcean, and I actually manage them with a front end using something called SpinUp WP. And so a lot of the stuff that Josh was kind of talking about doing, kind of behind the scenes, SpinUp WP also does that for you. And this is, I'm a big fan of this service. And this is also written by the nice folks who built Migrate DB Pro and WP Better Search and things like that. So they do some pretty cool stuff.
Okay.
So David Main stopped hosting. Like he is basically shutting down his system. So Darcy, I wouldn't send folks there. he's taken off. Yeah. Green Geeks, from what I hear, so this is another hosting company who does kind of WordPress-centric stuff, Green Geeks web hosting. I have heard good stuff about them. I wasn't a huge fan of their interface, but their pricing seems to be good, and they are big fans of WordPress. They were sponsors at our last WordPress conference here in town, so they are definitely a WordPress group. So Mary, you got some choices. Really a lot. Going back to pricing jumping really high, this is an interesting one because if you're just starting out with a blog, I mean 25,000 visits a month, this is way more than you're going to get kind of right away, that's just kind of facts of life, which is fine. But as your site grows and you start getting to where you're going to be hitting this limit, then at that time you're really going to probably want to start looking for something else because the pricing on their overages does start to get oppressive pretty quickly. I have a client who was on WP Engine for a while, and they were on GoDaddy for a while, and their site gets over 1 million visitors a month, and they were paying like literally in the thousands of dollars a month just for hosting, and it's just not, unless your site is just making a crap ton of money. A crap ton of visitors, as it turns out, doesn't exactly mean crap ton of money. So, yeah.
John, I got a quick question.
Yeah.
I moved my sites from WP Engine to kind of my own servers a while back.
Mm-hmm.
Did you notice like all the kind of custom things they add in there, like varnish and stuff?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was a pain to kind of unravel all of that. But WP Engine was cool with like all their backup stuff and all that kind of stuff built in. But yeah.
Not only that, like I think some of the other tools that people kind of gloss over that, first off, from a beginner standpoint, their support is right up there with the top. I mean, it's some of the best. But when you start looking at some of their dev tools that you just don't necessarily get automatically, one click to a staging site, one click to a dev site as well. Automated backups, obviously, and all of the SSL stuff, but WP CLI built in automatic for each of the instances. It's really, really hard to beat some of the dev services. I always talk about how PayPal was kind of the 800-pound gorilla in the room for the longest time. And if you wanted to do sales online, that was kind of your only real option. And then Stripe came along. But when Stripe came along, what they did that I thought was the smartest thing ever was they went to, they went after the developers. They made everything easy on the developers. And by doing so, that's what kind of got them the win, because if a developer likes you, who are they going to suggest that you use? I mean, obviously them. And I feel like WP Engine kind of does that same thing. They just keep making those developer tools that make things go. And Raul, I agree. I mean, SiteGround as an opening, it'll probably be just fine. But if you do need support that is kind of WordPress specific, SiteGround's not going to give it to you. That's all. That was my only point there. But from a hosting standpoint, they're fine, totally fine. And you get free SSL. You know what? I'm going to show you one other. I'm going to show you a plugin that was made by some nice folks down in Southern California. I had never heard of this plugin before, and it turns out it's 6 years old. So there's a lot of time and energy put into this. But this is a crazy cool plugin. If you remember way back in the day, if you ever had to create an image map and you wanted one particular image to have different zones that were going to be clickable, you could make something called an image map. And back in the day, they were stupid to make because you had to like literally know the coordinates of each individual spot to kind of build it. Well, now with this particular plugin, WP Draw Attention, you can actually upload an image. And as you see, as I hover over the kitchen area, this becomes a clickable area. And then this is all just one image, but yet each of these sections of the image are individually clickable. So I can click on the kitchen to get a pop over the kitchen, or I can click on the living room to get this. So this is one of those things where it's probably not something you need all of the time, but boy, when you need it, it is a super easy, cool little feature. So draw attention. Let's see. Yeah, definitely great for realtors. Great for so $75 for a single site. I mean, it's unlimited for 124. I mean, come on. That's if you're going to use it more than once, you're buying that unlimited and you're done. So anyway, WP Draw Attention, kind of a cool little plugin I ran into. All right, well, this is me just kind of filling up dead air. I appreciate y'all hanging out with us on a Wednesday night. As always, if you have any questions, please feel free to, if you're not in the Slack channel already, sign up and I will get you added right away. And otherwise, feel free to drop notes in the, oh, there's a free version. Eric, look at you. Huh, I wonder what the paid add-ons are. Featured customization. Oh, all right, well, there you go. Look at that. All right. Well, like I said, or was saying, hop into the Facebook group, drop a message in there, hop onto Slack, and we can have conversations over there about pretty much anything you want. If you had any WordPress questions, you know what? I'm sorry. I'm going to share one last thing with you, and it's on. I'm going to just go back to my site because this is something that is kind of near and dear to my heart, which is the pay it forward option. I don't know if you've seen this or not, but I am a big fan of mental health awareness and just kind of bringing that out and kind of removing the stigma about talking about it. There's this amazing group called the Open Sourcing Mental Illness, OSMI group. If you would like at any point, you are welcome to come to this page on my site. There's a link to it right there, pay it forward. You pay $50 and you get a half an hour of my time. I don't keep a single penny of that $50. I donate all of it to OSMI, including I cover the cost of the credit card processing fee that I get taken, that gets taken out of my $50 that comes my way, and I pay extra so that they don't have to pay it either. So if you are interested in sending a donation to a amazing company, and you're also looking for maybe some free consulting time, or not free, but do good consulting time. There you go. There's an option for you. All right, that's it. I'm done. Have a great night. Thanks for joining, and we'll do this again next month. Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.